The band leans deep. What's up, guys? Welcome to Forgemaster Metal Reviews, the place where you can get the most out of your metal.
This is one of our favorite segments where we round up the best from the month of July.
Make sure you follow us on Spotify. A link is in the description so you can get these playlists and check out these bands further. And hey, if you like metal content like this, hit that like button for us. It really helps us spread the video to new fans.
Summer is winding down, but these albums, they are still hot. Let's get into our favorite picks from the month.
Nightcrown Hadanfard released July 9th on Noble Demon Records following their debut 2020 studio album Impious VM. This killer Swedish band consists of former and current members of, this is stacked, Dark Funeral, Night Rage, and Cypher System. They have returned with a 9-track raging black and death metal offering that is an album that deserves more attention. One of the biggest performances that stood out to me were the brutal vocals, as they are totally relentless throughout this 45-minute assault. But that's not to say that the rest of the band are total slouches. They are freaking killer too. There were some interesting composition choices on the record as well, especially those atmospherics that run throughout each track and record. Really loved that stuff. These quick melodic and moody breaks give the listener a chance to breathe, collect themselves, and lets those heavy parts hit even harder. Hadanfard was a killer listen, and it's easily just as good as their first studio release. This continued level of quality shows that Nightcrown are one of the most exciting and impressive black and death metal bands at the moment. Noble Demon know how to pick them. This album slays, and it's easily one of the best black metal albums of the year. 4.6 out of 5 Cloaked Figures.
Scotsman Tom Perrett has created Ruadh as a vessel for his blackened folk metal. His third album in as many years is entitled Eternal. It was independently released early in July with help from Northern Silence Productions on some of the pressings. Collaborating with several other musicians, engineers, and artists, Perrett has created a vast landscape, relying heavily on the atmosphere in atmospheric black metal. Right when you think you've figured out the formula of this record, it introduces new elements. Clean singing from both male and females, bagpipes, chants, prayers, pan flutes, etc. Just as the seasons change before our very eyes, this album unfolds itself into the listener, becoming much more than just your typical atmospheric black and folk metal album. The pacing on this record is incredible, sitting at just around 48.5 minutes. I'm excited to revisit this one, especially around the autumn time frame. Ruadh's Eternal gets 4.7 out of 5 moon-gazing pagans.
Vouna released July 16th on Profound Lore. One-woman doom outfit Vouna has released easily one of my favorite doom metal albums of the year so far, and honestly, there aren't a lot of doom albums this year. Yes, this album comes out the gate swinging. Soul member Yana Beckress has seriously stepped up her game since her previous releases, and the partnership with some of the Wolves in the Throne Room members elevated this album to something really special with the album artwork and the production. Funeral doom honestly is not usually my thing, but this album does some strange and refreshing things with folk music, synths, and moody and atmospheric as well as spooky vocal passages, and even some black metal too, so welcome stuff there. There's clear influences from Agalloch's best efforts with the folk influence, but the vocals on this album are really where this album feels mournful, dark, and relentlessly bleak in the best way. Atropos was a massive album and a soundtrack for the dark mystic wilderness that I cannot help but continuously get lost in. This album is freaking fantastic, and I'm excited to revisit it in the fall on some of those woodland hikes. 4.3 out of 5 Forest Incantations.
American-based Feld have released an incredible debut to add to the ever-growing collection of fantastic neofolk-inspired black metal that has been on a growing trajectory in the last couple of decades. The Intimate Earth was put out by the group early in July in conjunction with Transcending Obscurity Records. Thematically, this record matches very well with Ruadh's Eternal, in that there are many influences from pagan and folk arts and music, but that's about where the similarities start and end. The Intimate Earth displays a version of folk metal that is much more sorrowful and, dare I say, melancholic than the more emotionally balanced approach of Eternal. The strings section in Feld not only features guitars but relies very heavily on the violins and violas provided by Tiffany Holiday. The violins on The Intimate Earth shriek and wail almost as mournfully as the vocals. This painfully powerful record is an album of the year contender for me, reaching a score of 4.8 out of 5 Curious Wolves.
Sepiroth, Condemned to Suffer, released July 9th on Petrichor. The Dutch death metal scene is easily one of the best. These are facts, and we should do an episode on that, honestly. Comment below. This scene has birthed bands such as God Dethroned, Pestilence, Asphyx, to name a few, and they are the undisputed kings of the now over 30-year-long scene. Adding someone new to the fold, though, to hear Sepiroth bringing that heavy beast that is Condemned to Suffer made me very, very happy. Now I'm just going to address the elephant in the room for you Final Fantasy VII fans. Yes, this is almost the same name as the infamous villain Sephiroth. Who fucking cares? Returning with their third studio album, this record has a beautifully produced modern sound to accent the brutality within. Songs vary in speed and tempo, going from furious blast beats and traditional death metal riffing to a more slow approach where you can feel the filth sink into your bones. Sure, this album isn't anything that's breaking the mold of death metal, but it's a damn fine traditional death metal album that knows how to hit all of the right things. Great record, 4.1 out of 5 Gas Mask Maniacs.
This month marked yet another At the Gates release, their 7th studio album, entitled The Nightmare of Being. I have talked about this album a bit in one of our producer reaction videos for one of their singles, The Nightmare of Being. I definitely encourage you to go check that out. If you want to hear me nerd out over At the Gates, it's a fun time. Since the band's return on the other side of their massively influential Slaughter of the Soul record, I really admired their trajectory and desire to let their music speak for itself. At the Gates have proven that they can create material that is noteworthy in a sea of imitators and spawns. Think about that for a second. At the Gates single-handedly spawned an entire subgenre. Why listen to At the Gates when you could listen to the 20 other bands that sound like them? Well, because only At the Gates sounds like At the Gates, and they have continued to prove that with their most recent record, The Nightmare of Being. This album features some of the most unique atmospheres this band has ever created, and the song Cosmic Pessimism, holy shit, this is one of the best songs they've ever written. At the Gates continues to crush it. I'm giving The Nightmare of Being 4.7 out of 5 existential crises.
Wizardthrone, Hypercube, Necrodimensions, released July 16th on Napalm Records. What an utterly explosive and absurd album, showcasing some of the best metal that I have heard, bar none, this year. Conceptually, this record doesn't take itself too seriously, but that's honestly the allure. If I were to describe the band, it reminds me of the efforts of melodic technical death metal gods Arsis, but with the sci-fi fantasy sensibilities of bands like Mythotin, trading swords and dragons for spaceships and wasteland dimensions. Straddling the line between impressive musicianship and pure insanity, this concoction of pure imagination is a supergroup drawing its members from Ailstorm, Gloryhammer, Aether Realm, and Necrogoblin, so freaking stacked. The band leans deep into the sci-fi narrative with song titles like Black Hole Quantum Thermodynamics and Forbidden Equations deep within the Epimethean wasteland. The devastating musicianship makes the album album hard to not take seriously, but it's so freaking good. This album is pure storytelling with blistering metal coining the new genre, extreme wizard metal, which is something I didn't even know I needed. I couldn't be happier that this subgenre exists. The album is heroic, purely insane, showing fantastic mastery of their craft. You need to check this out. 4.7 out of 5 Hypercubes.
No Living Witness is my final pick for today with their sophomore album, Cosmic Simulacra. This duo from Olympia, Washington have independently released this album. We love talking about bands that are doing some of the heavy lifting themselves, like audio production, marketing, graphics, design, and public relations. Why? Because we also do some of that stuff of ourselves. No Living Witness's brand of metal is unique as it is relentless and progressive. It's really tough to classify these guys into a particular subgenre because they are really interested in taking the listener through a blackened journey, building, twisting musical passages that are designed to surprise and keep us guessing as to where the rest of the song is actually going to be going. They pull inspiration from black gaze, tech death, symphonic death, melodic death, progressive, metalcore. You'd think that it would be very, very messy with all these influences and inspirations, but no. No Living Witness has refined their sound to a T, showcasing highly talented musicianship and outstanding songwriting that doesn't overstay its welcome. This is an awesome record from a band that I thought was the name of a brand of Hot Topic mascara. No Living Witness gets 4.6 out of 5 Cosmic Deities.
What metal albums did you love from July? Let us know in the comments below. Hit that like button for us, and hey, if you're new, subscribe.
As always, our Forgemaster brethren, live along the razor's edge. See you next time.